Hello everybody and welcome to Forever Sports, and today we're going to be selecting a potential Springboks side to hopefully beat the Wallabies pretty convincingly. Now, what we did see over the weekend is that this Wallabies side is not to be underestimated, and I'm really hoping that they do give the Springboks a good go. I want us to really make sure we have to earn that victory at Ellis Park first and then down at the DHL Stadium. And very interesting to sort of see the type of teams we select for both of these games, because there's lots of sort of things to factor in. First of all, we want to win. Very, very simply, we won 5 points in the first game. We won 5 points in the second game. We need 10 points in our first two games. So that if we can go and beat New Zealand once in New Zealand, that should put us in a pretty good space to potentially win the Rugby Championship. Australia, yes, they were pushed the lines this past weekend, came very close to beating them. It is at home. It was, I think, for me, once in a lifetime performance, and I expect the Lions to probably win quite comfortably this weekend. So we are looking at Australian side that for me is still the easiest games in this Rugby Championship. 2 games at home, at Fortress Ellis, for example, then down in Cape Town. I expect us to be able to beat them relatively comfortably. In terms of the teams you select, I think you've obviously got to go pretty strong, and certain players where there's no question marks with regards to a form, you've got to play them. I think you've got to try and find a good mixture between experience and new players, because I still think we need to try and filter in a few new names into the side during this game. And with a couple of new faces who haven't got that many caps, for me, this still is a big opportunity to try and give them that kind of experience. So I've kind of gone with a bit of a mixture with regards to the team I've selected. I'm interested to see what you would change in this team. So with regards to my team, this is what I've gone with. In the front row, Oxenchair, Malcolm Marx, Volko Low, and watch them absolutely decimate any scrum ahead of them. That is our top 3 front rowers right now in the squad, and I think that they work as a starting combination. I think there could be an argument to have Jan Hendrik Vessel start ahead in Oxenchair, who then comes on with Asenat and Klabakanya as the more experienced player in the second half. Again, you talk about combinations, those two seem to be forming a bit of a combo. But I think if you want to make sure you've got scrum dominance from the get-go, that's what you go with. You go with your 3 strongest scrummagers. In the second row, very interesting decisions to make. You've got Luat Diago, you've got Franco Mostert, you've got Eben Etzebeth, you've got Archie Snyman as your sort of Fab 4. And then you've got Ruan Nokia, who's man of the match in the game against Georgia. I think he's done enough to warrant another start against Australia. I think you could look at Luat Diago, for example. I would probably look at Luat Diago down in Cape Town, and potentially maybe even give Eben Etzebeth a bit of a rest down in Cape Town. For Joburg, I would go Eben next to Ruan Nokia, which I think on form is probably our strongest lock combo right now. Franco Mostert could come in as well in the number 5 jersey. I like to see a bit more of him and really sort of bash the door down when he comes on. In the next, again, I'll probably have him on the bench for Cape Town, but I'm going to go with those two. I think Eben even himself, people talking about the fact that he wasn't maybe at his usual level in Mbombela. So, he's probably got to try and lift up the performance, but he's up number 1, number 4. There's no arguments about that. However, our number 1, number 5 at the moment is up for grabs, really. Archie Snyman comes off the bench. That's kind of his role. Who starts the number 5 jersey? You've got Ruan Nokia, you've got Luat Diago, and you've got Franco Mostert. So you've got options. Nice problem to have, really. If we then look at the back row, I've gone Sia Khaleesi, Peter Steph Toy. I've gone with Cobus Visa. Maybe we can try it again. I think Jean-Luc Dupré probably the more likely to start there, but I'm wondering if if we're going to try this experiment, I think we try it again. And the reason I've gone with him is I've gone with a 5-3 split on the bench, which could be deployed as a 6-2, and Cobus Visa gives you the option to potentially be able to move into second row and replace basically both your locks and still sort of be able to add a bit of an impetus into your flankers as well. So that versatility there, you could very easily put a Jean-Luc Dupré in there. I personally think that Cobus Visa is someone who, if they want to look at it number 8, give him another run in Joburg. So given the squad that we've got, if it was an Evan Lewis in the squad, I'd say give him a go. If Rassie Erasmus was fit, I'd say give him a go. We are playing at Ellis Park. It is going to be good conditions for running rugby. It's going to be nice and dry. It'll probably be a bit warmer, but not massively hot. It's going to be the perfect conditions to run the Wallabies off their feet. You can make the altitude count in August, even more so than you can in July. The air is thin. It's not going to be that cold. It's going to be relatively warm, but it's going to be at altitude. Run them off their feet. And Grant Williams and Marley Bok will do exactly that. For me, those two as a combination should be able to really give them a go. And against Ellis Park. Down in Cape Town, I think I look at conditions. If it's rainy, I look at 100 Pollard. If it's dry, I'll give Sasha a run. But for me, Marnie has to start at Ellis Park. It's the perfect sort of feel and conditions for him to play. I've got Damon Delendi, Jesse Creel in the centres. Nothing against Kane and Moody. I thought that back-to-back good games. But I think you go back to sort of your tried and tested. And then maybe in the second test, you maybe look at an Andre Estes and Kane and Moody type of combination. My two wings, I've gone with Cheslin Colby and Edward van der Merwe. Curtly Arnser played the most games out of anybody during this 4-match series. You know, he basically played every single game. And, or played the most minutes. I think he played 3 games out of the 4 and played all 80 minutes. So I would like to have a look at a potential different combination in Cheslin Colby and Edward van der Merwe. It keeps Edward van der Merwe in the side, gives him another run at a stadium he knows really well, brings back Cheslin Colby in the number 11 jersey, and they get an opportunity to sort of play together and we can kind of see how that looks. For me, Upland Fassi probably the most likely to get in that number 15 jersey. Again, we're at very nice conditions, at altitude, where you can really sort of use that sort of X factor and have a go. At this on Academic Williamson 23, I'd bring him back down in Cape Town. I'd probably start him actually in Cape Town, in conditions where he understands better than most, having played there the entire length of his career. Off the bench, again, I said a 5-3 split. Marnus van der Merwe, Janning Vessels, Asnat and Klabakanye. I think Marnus van der Merwe and I think Asnat and Klabakanye have played better than Mongi Manambi and Volkolo. This is not just a case of, using the youngsters for the sake of them. I think they have outperformed their counterparts. Therefore, give them a go. Again, Asnat and Klabakanye understands what Ellis Park is like and how it is to play at Ellis Park, how it is to scrum at Ellis Park. Yeah, Marnus van der Merwe, I think looked really good. Give him a run out there. Jan Hendrik Vessels in the number 17. You could go with a bone fenter there. I do think that Jan Hendrik Vessels will play. I do think that he's right now very much in the mix for the World Cup, and they're going to want to try and get as many caps into him as possible. Then on Arceus Neyman, Kwagga Smith, the usual impact players off the bench. They do bring an impact. Kwagga Smith brings a lot of impetus, a lot of speed in that second half. Arceus Neyman is, one of the best players off the bench in the world. Those two really, as a combo, actually are. And then I've got Morne van den Berg. Again, familiarity. I also think this game management is very good. Kubus Reinhardt brings in more experience, but, I think if you've got Andre Pollard coming in at number 22 jersey and a Morne van den Berg next to him, I think that's absolutely perfect. Andre Esterhazen is an option you can go and play at 12, 13, or at flank, potentially. Now, the only problem with this is that there isn't a natural number 15 replacement, so it will depend on whether you're willing to have Maliebach go to fullback or to have a Cheslin Colby go to fullback. So this is a bit of a pie in the sky thinking. Realistically, you'd probably have a Damian Willemse. What I'd actually love to see is Morne van den Berg, Damian Willemse, Andre Esterhazen type of thing. Or Sasha ahead of Pollard, because then he covers 10, 12, and 15. And you can use Esterhazen more as, the flanker option in that sort of potential, then it almost becomes a 6-2 split. So the big sort of question marks in this particular team is 15. And I've done that deliberately, but I've also thought, if Marnie is struggling off the boot, Sasha had a bit of an off game. We're not entirely sure how fit he's going to be as well. Pollard is your banker. In that regard, the safer pick is to probably go David Willemse ahead of an Andre Esterhazen. But I like the fact that Andre Esterhazen kind of come on as your sort of 6-2 split. Alternatively, just start Daniel Willemse at fullback. You leave out Fassi in the 23, and you then go Morne van den Berg or Kobus Reinhardt and 100 Pollard as your only two backline players, or you include Andre Esterhazen in that, but he gets deployed as a forward. What do you think? What change would you make? For me, a nice little balance between experience and youth. The bench, lots of experience in Arceus Neyman, Kwagga Smith, Andre Pollard, and Andre Esterhazen. The other 4 players, more inexperienced. In the starting lineup, you've got a Ruan Okia who's still, coming through and getting to grips. Kobus Wiese is still relatively new to Boks Rugby, 3 matches in now. You've got an Edel van der Merwe who's still relatively new. Even Grant Williams has actually not played as many games as you probably think. But it's a very settled side. So that's what I would like to see. What would you like to see? Let me know down in the comments below. Smash a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel as well. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Steve, and I'll chat to you soon.